To keep up to date with everything at Knights of the Game Table, all you have to do is click subscribe and then hit that tiny little notification button next to it, so every time we upload a new video, YouTube will be sure to let you know.
Hi, my name is Rocky, and I'll be building a Selesnya pre-release pack. This kit has already been open for social media purposes, but it's the first time I will be looking at it and building the seal pool. Alright, so now that the pool is open, I want to take a look at what rares we open. In the Selesnya Gilded pack, we opened up Trostani, which I believe is the guild leader. Very, very powerful card, so, I mean, we definitely want to be Selesnya if we can. We opened up another Selesnya rare, Emeria, Soul of the Accord, so that is awesome. The other rares, we have a red Legion War Boss, which is a great card. We have a rare in black that is not playable. We have a split Boros rare, Response Resurgence. So that can be playable if we are Selesnya, or splash it with some red cards. So looking at the amount of cards per color, looks like we have a good amount in each. So I'm going to start looking at white-green and Selesnya, as that's what we're going to want to hopefully ideally end up building, given that we had a seeded pack, which gives us plenty of goodies in those colors, plus we have some powerful white-green rares. And we have 5 Selesnya gold cards, so we would ideally like to end up in white-green, and looks like we have a good chance to do that. Take a look at white. We have Luminous Bonds, which is a good removal spell. We have another rare in white. It's okay, it's a bear, 2/2 Vigilance. You can sacrifice it, destroy target legendary permanent. So that's probably pretty good in sealed, given that it can trade for one of our opponent's rares. So take a look at green. Affectionate Indrake is a powerful uncommon. Arboretum Elemental, very unpowerful uncommon, 7/5 hexproof. We have some Siege Worms. Green looks good. We know our multicolor cards are good, so I'm going to go ahead and start laying out a curve here. So we have 2 Conclave Guild Mages, which are the Selesnya Guild Mages, and Guild Mages are very powerful. They offer a mana sink. The lockets it's a mana rock, so in Selesnya we'll tap for green or white, and then later in the game, when you don't need the extra mana, it's 4 hybrid that you can sacrifice it and draw 2 cards. So it's pretty nice, and it can help us ramp into some of our more expensive spells. Take a look at the other colors and see if there's anything noteworthy to splash, if we want to even. I've seen a few powerful cards in red, some removal spells, which we're really lacking in green-white so far. Kind of looks like we're all creatures at the moment. We have 1 removal spell in Luminous Bonds, a pump spell. The creatures are very, very good and powerful. One of our creatures is a pseudo removal spell, so that's nice, but ideally in sealed you would like some number of removal spells, so we might splash potentially for Command the Storm out of red, which is 5 mana, deal 5 damage, or Lava Coil, 2 mana, deal 4 damage, because you definitely want to be able to remove some of the opposing threats. So we opened a Boros split card rare, Response Resurgence. In the first half, we can easily cast, because it's hybrid mana, 2 white and 2 red. So we can play it just for that part. Deals 5 damage to target attacking or blocking creature, so that's a removal spell. The other part of the card, Resurgence, which we would require red mana for. Creatures you control gain first strike and vigilance until end of turn. After this main phase, there's an additional combat phase, followed by an additional main phase. So that's a pretty powerful effect that I think we could potentially splash for. Are fixing at the moment. We have 3 Selesnya Guild Gates, so we'll have consistent white-green mana available to us. We do have a Boros Guild Gate, which won't hurt our mana base because it's a plains that can be a mountain. There's a Boros Locket, so could potentially we'll definitely play it for the first half. I'm not sure if I want to add a mountain to kind of damage the mana base when we don't need to. However, there are some other good cards in red. Command the Storm and Lava Coil for removal spells. Right now I'm trying to figure out if we can afford to splash for these red removal spells, and I just remembered we have an Urban Utopia which can help with fixing, along with the Boros Locket, which we can interchange with the Selesnya Locket, and the Boros Guildgate, plus a Mountain I think will be healthy enough for our mana base to splash for them without jeopardizing the consistency of having forests and plains when we need them, because we do want to have removal spells, and I don't think we're damaging our mana base too much by adding them with the few fixing that we have available. So I'm going to change this out. So this is 25 cards. So we have plenty of playables. Cut a interchangeable 5-drop. It's the weakest of 5 drops we have. Ideally, we're going to be casting the Siegehorn that costs 7 at turn 5 because it can Convoke. And then our other 5-drop is Tristani, which is our best card. So this is just a 5-drop that's 3/3 Vigilance that enters the battlefield tapped to target creatures your opponents control. It's solid, but we don't want to have too many 5-drops, and we already have 2 6-drops. So we want to kind of lower our curve on that end, and definitely, and 5-mana removal spell, which we want. So it leaves us with one more cut. We have plenty of 2-drops, so I'm just going to cut the weakest one. We have a 23-card deck built here. Nice Selesnya deck, splashing red for removal spells, and also the second half of our split card rare. Looks pretty nice. I'm going to take a look one more time at our other colors to make sure we're not missing anything in our pool. In blue there's a City Watch Sphinx, which is 6 mana, 5/4 flying, Surveil 2. It's a nice big flyer that is potentially splashable, but it's not really an effect we need because we have plenty of things at the higher end, but it is a nice card. Then the Dimir multicolored cards we can't play. We do have 2 Deadly Visits in black, which are very, very good removal spells, but given that it's double black, it would jeopardize the mana base too much. So wish I could play them, but definitely won't be able to cast them easily. The black cards that we opened are not very good outside of the 2 Deadly Visits. There are some good red cards. We opened a Legion War Boss, and we are splashing 2 other red cards, but it's not that Legion War Boss isn't good enough. It's just it's an early creature that wants to come out consistently if you have it, and given that red is our splash, we won't be able to do that, so the power level of it kind of goes down. It's not really a card you would want to splash for. But it is a cool card that if I was in red, I would love to play. And then our white and green, we have our best Selesnya cards laid out. We have some Golgari multicolored cards, which we could splash for, but nothing noteworthy. Swarm Guild Mage is solid, but we won't be splashing for it. Boros, multicolored cards, once again something we could splash for, but nothing noteworthy to splash for. And we do have another Locket that's on color, but I think I'm just going to stick with the 1 Locket, but potentially could side into the second one. And in terms of on-color fixing, we have 3 Selesnya Guildgates, so our mana base will be extremely consistent for white and green. And then for our splash, we have the Boros Guildgate, the Boros Locket, which also these fixings tap for white. We have an Urban Utopia, and then have to figure out if we want 1 basic mountain or not. So that is currently only 3 red sources for 2 cards, so mountain would be nice, and I think since we have the 3 Selesnya Guildgates, we can afford to play a mountain. I think this is a pretty straightforward pool. with the assistance of the seeded pack, I mean, we opened the best Selesnya card possible. We have a bunch of really good Selesnya white and green creatures. We have a pretty nice early aggressive curve. We have 2 guild mages that can be really powerful mana sinks in the late game. I believe it's a pretty straightforward pool. I'm happy to be in Selesnya so that we get to play our rares, and we're splashing red for the removal spells, and I think the deck looks pretty nice. Okay, so opened our Selesnya pre-release kit here. We opened a bunch of powerful Selesnya cards. We have Tristani that we opened. We opened an Emeria. We opened 2 Selesnya Guild Mages. So ideally we wanted to be in green-white, and as it shaked out, we had enough playables in both of those colors, and the curve looks pretty nice. We were, however, lacking removal in the Selesnya colors, and you do really want to have removal in sealed. So we had some removal spells in red, in Lava Coil, which is 2 mana, deal 4 damage, and Command the Storm, 5 mana, instant, deal 5 damage. So I looked at splashing those so that we did have some removal for our opposing threats that we would face. We also had some red fixing that won't damage our mana base. We have a Boros Guildgate that can also tap for white mana. We have a Boros Locket that can also tap and play our Selesnya cards. And then we have an Urban Utopia. So, we also have a split rare, Response Resurgence, which the front half we casted is 2 white mana as a removal spell, but the more powerful side, Resurgence, 5 mana, 1 red and a white, is a powerful option that we could cast if we have access to red. So we're splashing for those 2.5 red cards without really damaging our mana base, given that we have 3 Selesnya Guild Gates. Pretty much we have a straightforward Selesnya convoke out these big threats, and I think the deck is actually quite powerful, even though it is lacking removal, but Selesnya is all about playing creatures and convoking to get the bigger creatures out. Really glad to play with Tristani, I believe the guild leader, very powerful card. So yeah, this deck looks really nice. This is Rocky, and that was the unboxing of the Selesnya pre-release kit.